Hey, what's good, my people? Billy here from Kizomba Harmony, and I am back. And so is this. For now, I've been working out, and every vlog I do from now on, I should be looking leaner and leaner, and at some point I'm gonna be so dead sexy that basically I will be shirtless from then on. Just kidding, I'm not gonna be shirtless in our videos. Or will I? You just have to watch to find out. But seriously, I'm not going to. But anyway, today we're gonna talk about cultural misappropriation. Now, this is a meaty topic. It's probably going to take a few videos. Otherwise, I'd be sitting here talking for 30 minutes, which I wouldn't mind, but I'm sure you guys would. So, to begin, you remember this? This is a spoon. But in my first vlog, if you watched it, I used it as a metaphor for Kizomba Foundation and African dance in general, and the work ethic and training it takes to reach a certain level of mastery that I feel is necessary to create a new style of Kizomba. The response to the video was overwhelmingly positive, but few people weren't so positive, but more on that later. But it's interesting, some of the comments I got. Some folks tried to pull a matrix on me and say, there is no spoon. And to that, I just have to borrow from my man Ed Lover and say, come on, son. We're not in the movies. If we were actually in the Matrix, sure. But this is real life, and in real life, there is a spoon. And metaphorically speaking, there's definitely a spoon. So nice try, it was entertaining. Also, I got a comment that said, yeah, I hear you. So the spoon is Kizomba Sema, but it's also whatever I make up, whatever new styles are out there, as long as it has the word Kizomba. If I make up a new style today, or if I made up a new style after 2 months of dancing, call it Billy Kiz or Billy Kizomba, it belongs in here. Everything that has Kizomba on it, whether or not it has anything to do with Kizomba or African dance, it's all in here. And this is a perfect example of cultural misappropriation. So what does it mean? It's basically when someone takes something from another culture. Now, cultural appropriation is when someone takes something, borrows something. Cultural misappropriation is a term that's used when it's done unethically or without permission or in a way that people think is wrong. And misappropriation is something that has happened to people of African descent, particularly, for hundreds and hundreds of years. More on that later, though. In the Kizomba world, it happens in one of two ways. Either you take stuff from the culture and put your own name on it, or you take the name from the culture and put it on whatever you want to give it legitimacy. For example, I'll use Billy Kiz. Let's say I made up my own style of Kizomba after a month of dancing. I took a couple group classes. Kizomba's easy, obviously, so I can master it in a month. I made up my own style, Billy Kiz, Billy Kizomba, whatever. I use both. And yeah, if I called it Billy Dance, nobody would want to learn. But there's marketing power in the word Kizomba, so I'm going to stick it on there. Now I'm Billy Kizomba. Now everybody wants to learn it. And then there are genres of music like ghetto zouk. I don't like the word ghetto zouk, so I'm going to call it Billy Kizomba. And I see some other people who are very good dancers. I like their style. Now their style is now Billy Kizomba. I basically misappropriated the work of a lot of other people. Yeah. Another example is talking about the Billy Kizomba. I'll call what I do Billy Kizomba, and then I'll call Kizomba traditional Kizomba. And this is a problem for ethical reasons and also for practical reasons, but I'll explain the ethical reasons first. But first you have to understand that there is a history, hundreds of years of people of African descent and their descendants being stripped of their culture, their identity, exploited, often by people of a majority or more powerful class of persons who are not of the culture. So you have a history of people, of people of African descent being demonized for their culture, but then once it's extracted by others, then it becomes glorified. So it's demonized with us, it's glorified with you. And there's a history of this. And not only from African culture, but also people of the diaspora. Because of this wonderful thing, this institution called slavery and colonialism, a lot of people of African persuasion got to take a free boat ride. And not a lot of them made it, but some of them did. And they landed in interesting places like Cuba, which is where salsa's from, and Dominican Republic, which is where bachata's from, or Haiti, which is where compa's from. Compa being a music that influenced zouk, and also heavily influenced Kizomba. And then, of course, many ended up in the US, which is where I'm from. And hip hop and R&B and rock and roll and blues. In fact, much of the popular music that's popular all over the world comes from the African diaspora. So this is very valuable, and this is why people want to extract it. But often people will extract things without giving credit where it's due. But then don't get it twisted. It's not just white people who are appropriating. There are black people and Africans who do the same thing. More on that later, though. But it's important to understand that there's a deep-seated history of people being exploited for their culture and not getting the credit that is due. So when for an Angolan, for instance, you have to understand, Angola has gone through a lot of really tough stuff. Years and years of war, civil war, people getting killed. So if you're an Angolan who's you don't know if you're going to die from one day to the next, you have family who's died, everybody's stressed, people are fleeing, For many Angolans growing up, Kizomba and Samba were the music and dance were basically all they had to keep themselves together, to keep themselves sane. And they can listen to songs that remind them of their parents that they lost or home. And sometimes people will just listen to music and just hug each other and just cry. I mean, talking to Angolans and Palaps who've been dancing for 20, 30 years, this is a deep, deep part of their soul, part of their consciousness, it's visceral. It's not just a dance to them. So if they feel that something that is a part of them is being disrespected, they feel like it's a slap to their face. And what happens often is when people don't take the time to learn Kizomba, they have that much Kizomba, they have a big gap, and so they try to fill it with things. Often things that in the Latin world ended up being called, sensual this and sensual that. You'll see a lot of, body rolls, and you'll see, more sensual, like booty stuff and like sexy stuff, right? Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but you got to understand for African dance, Kizomba is a family dance. This is something that people dance with their moms, their dads, grandma. It's a family dance. You're not gonna do all that with your mama, are you? I mean, maybe you're more comfortable with your family than me, but I wouldn't. So, this is something that you take your mom to a Kizomba. It means party. You take your mom to a Kizomba, you dance, But they see folks dancing and they're doing all this stuff, And I'm not talking about tarrashinya. I'm talking about like the big body rolls and, and it's been sexualized by people who don't understand it. And this is often what happens when African dance suffers misappropriation. The family nature is stripped out and something sexual is put in, more sexual. And this can be a problem. Now, I'm not going to speak on what's happening in the Latin dances because they're having a similar discussion right now. Because as Obama likes to say, I like to know what I'm talking about before I speak. That's not my area. I won't speak on that. But it's happening in Kizomba too. A lot of people, you look at Kizomba demos and it's all about being sexy. Sexy, you know what I'm talking about. It's not something that you could take your mom to and be like, hey mom, hey grandma, come do this with me. They'd probably slap your face. So this is what a lot of people are seeing. Also, the word traditional. There's power in words, okay? There's power in names. When you call something traditional, it implies that it's old and often obsolete, outdated. So you call this traditional Kizomba, you call something else modern Kizomba, people are going to think, oh, this is the new, this is, this is the good stuff, and this is old. When the truth is, Kizomba is modern. It's modern. The music is only like 30 years old. This is a modern dance. There are traditional dances in Angola, like, Kazakuta, Kilapanda, but they don't call them traditional Kazakuta or traditional Kilapanda. They're just called Kazakuta, Kilapanda. So if the people who created something, they're the ones who get to name it. So if it's called Kizomba, call it Kizomba. I know sometimes people feel like that it can be confusing to people when they're trying to describe what is Kizomba, what is not. But just make a habit of just calling it Kizomba. And then if it's something that's like a new style, call it new style or French style. And more on that later. I'll probably have to put that aspect in the next video. But words have power. So if you call something traditional, that's not really traditional. Not only are you inaccurate, but again, you're putting a negative connotation on something that to a lot of people is a part of the culture. It's a part of the soul. Also, if you have two words, if you have traditional Kizomba and modern Kizomba, now it seems like they're equal. When the truth is, Kizomba is the foundation. New styles are a small, it's like icing that goes on the cake. So it's not like they're equal. This is Kizomba. New styles go on top of Kizomba. You don't have to have new styles. I love new styles. I encourage everybody to learn new style. But again, that's a new style of Kizomba. This is the foundation, African dance. So it's important for people to know that it's not like you can just go and this has practical applications, which I'll have to do in the next video. But this is the most important. This is the core. This is the source code, Kizomba and Semba. So if you just call it Kizomba, then that gives the proper connotation, and it educates people in the right way. Then they'll realize, oh, this is Kizomba, and then this is a style of Kizomba. So please, my people, stop calling it traditional. There are traditional dances in Angola. Kizomba is not a traditional dance. That is one solution that it'll, as far as names go, it will stop a lot of the fighting. Now, there's a lot of other aspects that are going on. A lot of things that I have to speak about as well. But again, I'm trying to keep this video short. So I'll just close by saying Kizomba is Kizomba. New styles of Kizomba are new styles of Kizomba. There's no need for the word traditional unless you're referring to traditional dances like Kazakuta. Cultural misappropriation means taking something from another culture and not giving credit where it's due. So let us try to be a bit more understanding of those for whom Kizomba is more than just a dance or music or something to do on the weekend, something to do to relieve boredom. This is a part of their life. This is part of the fabric of their being. So let's give them respect. If the people who created Kizomba want you to call it Kizomba, then give them the respect that they deserve and call it Kizomba. Yeah? It's as simple as that. Now, there's another perspective to what's going on in the scene that I'll talk about next time, because the truth is, not everybody who's talking about culture really cares about culture. There's a lot of money involved as well. And so in the next video, I'm going to talk about things like urban kids, new styles, marketing, and the things that are going on that other people, even folks in the African community, are guilty of. So the next perspective coming next. I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you soon. Let me know what you think. Peace.